Hello again. In this video, we'll take a look at your next writing assignment, the identity paragraph assignment. In Moodle, you'll find the assignment itself, an example of a paragraph and an outline to give you some idea of the structure, length, scope of it. I'll go over both of those in a minute. And down here is the link in Turnitin you'll use to submit it before the due date. So let's begin by looking at the assignment. So when you read the task, you'll see that this is a continuation, or maybe a better way to say an evolution of the first forum post in which you introduced yourself by presenting three identities that kind of sum up who you are as a person. You're free to use those three if they work. If you think one of them could be replaced by something better, go ahead and do it. If you saw something in your classmates forum that really registered with you, or maybe a comment I made, you're certainly free to change those. It is important that you pick nouns to kind of as the basis of that. I'll talk about that more when we get to the outline. Basically then, the task is to break down your identity into multiple parts and explain how they intersect in order to make you who you are. Think of these three components of your identity. Consider things like ethnicity, gender, income brackets, hobbies, interests. Feel free to use others that I haven't even imagined. Present them in the order of importance. That is, you kind of want to end with one that seems to be maybe the most important and most central one in defining who you are, or the role that you see as most important for yourself or others. And then consider explaining how each applies to you and why you feel they help define who you are. That's really the task at play here. Another purpose beyond, it's kind of rounding out or understanding or helping me understand the complexity of your identity is to develop some of the good habits of writing: organization, cohesion, content, developing ideas, voice. Those are the primary things I'll be looking for as I grade the paper and give you feedback on it. This is the first of two paragraph-length assignments, and you're going to practice the skills of organizing, developing focused, limited subject while using a mature, confident tone. Another thing I'd like you to do is to use one of the strategies from Chapter 1 to begin the paper. Open with what they say. This may be a common assumption about you or a misconception about you that people have, or that people have about people like you. Beginning with that idea that you can kind of push against is the central way of beginning any kind of writing, and it's really important. So you might think about sometimes where people have labeled you or underestimated you. That would be a good thing to respond to. The genre, be sure that you format the paper in MLA style. You can use that MLA format template from the resources section to help you easily format the paper. When I talk about here about avoiding the second person, that's the pronoun you or your, it's almost always incorrect. In this particular case, you can use the pronoun I. You'll be writing about yourself, I, me, my. But if you've written sentences and you find that you've included that you pronoun, look at a way to revise it. I think you'll find that you can strengthen the writing by rewriting in any sentence that uses the second person. On the back is the evaluative criteria. I won't go through all of these, but as you'll see, the assignment itself is a total of 25 points. 10 of those points go for organization or development. So keep that part in mind. What I call voice is 5 points, sentence fluency is 5 points, convention is 5 points. Here are the expectations for a paper that will receive full credit for each of these criteria. So to get the 10 or the 5 points for each one, this is the criteria I'll be judging your paper against. Now I'll just kind of highlight some of the points to be brought out in the example ID paragraph outline. This is a document created by one of my colleagues, so it is a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's as if it's written from the perspective of Bruce Wayne, the superhero Batman. But I think you'll understand that in doing it, my colleague, Mr. Russell, has identified those three identities, or three aspects of Bruce Wayne's identity: orphan, billionaire, and at night, of course, he's Batman. And so those are the three identities that are used here. These questions, I think, are intended to for you to apply here. How does it connect to other aspects? What does it mean to me? How does it make me who I am? Those are the questions you should be asking as you develop each of the ideas you have. So if you've chosen something like, brother, big brother, that would be an identity some people adopt, the oldest brother or oldest sister, let's say. So that could be a type of identity or an aspect of your identity that you identify here, and these might be the questions you ask yourself to probe that. This sample paragraph then is kind of color-coded to respond back to each of those elements. So you can see how the ideas that show up in the outline phase are organized then. The 3 points that I want to highlight the most here is this first part, that topic sentence or controlling idea. So when it's written in my day-to-day life, most people may think of me as just an international renowned playboy. Well, that's the they say move. But here is the notion of what's behind the mask. The yellow sentences are what we might think of as primary support sentences. These are the sentences in which the identity parts are introduced, the orphan, the billionaire, the Batman part. And then that last sentence returns to the controlling idea, restates or reinforces it. That's the standard way to wrap up any paper. So that sums up in a nutshell, so to speak, both the intention of the assignment and an example of how you might approach it. If you have any questions, especially about the 3 identities you've chosen, that would be an easy thing for me to respond to in an email, so feel free to contact me before the final draft is submitted on the due date. Otherwise, I look forward to reading these and giving you some good feedback for you to carry forward as we move on to the next assignment in next week's module.